We're at the RNC convention here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with the one and the only Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project. Sir, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Big news, classified documents case, out the window, dismissed by Eileen Cannon based on the appointments clause. Can you break down what we saw in that case and whether or not that ultimate decision was surprising?
It shouldn't be surprising because if under the Constitution, it's very clear that if you want to create offices in the United States government, you have to do it through Congress, our elected members of Congress, and then you also, if you want to fund those offices, it has to be through the appropriations process. And what Judge Cannon correctly held is that the special counsel's office violates both the appointments clause of the Constitution and the appropriations clause of the Constitution. Remember, we had the Office of Independent Counsel that was established by Congress, and then after the Ken Starr investigation of then President Clinton, Congress let the Office of Independent Counsel lapse, and the Justice Department tried to do an end run around that by fiat through regulation to create the Office of Special Counsel. And the problem with this Office of Special Counsel is it has an unlimited budget and it has nearly unlimited jurisdiction. It has very little supervision by a Senate-confirmed officer in the Justice Department like the Attorney General or a United States Attorney.
Mike, it seems pretty cut and dry, the whole process about it, the wording. It doesn't seem that controversial. Why did it take so long for this to happen?
It's a good question. I mean, I think that Judge Cannon was very careful in her 90-plus page opinion. She dotted her I's, she crossed her T's, and she's exactly right. I think that it was Justice Thomas's separate opinion in the presidential immunity case that outlined why Justice Thomas thought these special counsel offices are unconstitutional, because they're not accountable to the American people through a Senate-confirmed officer of the United States.
And what happens to the other Jack Smith case, the one in Washington, D.C., now that Cannon has made this ruling in the Florida district? How does that transfer, if at all, to the D.C. case?
It's not controlling. The Judge Cannon's ruling is only controlling in the Southern District of Florida, but it's persuasive. And Judge Tanya Chutkan has to look at this case and decide whether she's also going to dismiss this case. She's not, because Judge Chutkan is a partisan hack. She's an Obama partisan hack, so there's no chance that she's going to dismiss this case. This will presumably get to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, I predict, will side with Judge Cannon. It's a very clear-cut violation of the Constitution to have these special counsels with their unlimited budgets and nearly unlimited jurisdiction just created by fiat, by the Justice Department, instead of by Congress.
Mike Davis, 60 seconds. Of course, we saw the assassination attempt on the 45th president in Butler, Pennsylvania, then this decision. How do you believe that the assassination attempt will play into his campaign up until the election?
Well, first I would say this. I blame President Biden for this. It was President Biden's campaign strategy to label President Trump as a fascist who had to be stopped through any and all means. And President Biden politicized and weaponized his Justice Department, his intel agencies, working with these Biden Democrat prosecutors. They tried to bankrupt Trump. They tried to throw him in prison for the rest of his life. They tried to throw him off the ballots. And now President Trump's political enemies are trying to kill him. And I blame President Biden for his campaign strategy, for his rhetoric that led to this. President Biden has brought our country to the brink with this republic ending lawfare and election interference, with his highly dangerous and destructive rhetoric, calling Trump essentially Hitler and saying that he needs to be stopped. Of course, this is the natural and probable result, what we saw in Pennsylvania with that assassination attempt. And I would say this: if President Trump it was 1 second or one movement difference, he would be dead. His head would have been blown off on national TV. And President Biden is a disgrace for creating this environment. He should bow out. His own party doesn't want him, and he should bow out and get out of this race.
Mike Davis, Article 3 Project, sir. We appreciate